right, everyone, welcome back into another Fantasy Golf video. Going to be breaking down the Charles Schwab Challenge here for you guys, giving you guys a preview, the top picks and plays, and the lineup process. But first, I want to get into a quick recap from the PGA Championship. So the PGA Championship was a very stellar week. Hit Xander Schauffele first round lead again for the second straight week. Who said he couldn't be profitable to bet on? On top of that, was able to hit him as an outright bet. Pretty fun PGA Championship. 3-ball bets did really well. Head-to-head bets did well. I was able to really double up across the board PGA DFS-wise. Kind of a sweat-free week for the most part as well, PGA DFS-wise. So across the board, really no complaints. Continuing the hot streak that we've been on really in 2024, but over the past 2 months, really some good stuff here. And hopefully that'll carry over on into this week. This is a week this week, though, where I'm like too dialed in is kind of my worry. There's some prices that I think are going to be prices on plays that I cannot pass up on that maybe I shouldn't be trusting that much, and that's going to be a little bit worrisome. And we have Scotty in the field this week, and he's priced as he probably should be compared to the field, and I do think we're going to want to try to get to him. So there's that nuance going into this week as well. But looking at Colonial Country Club, slightly different course. They did some renovations to this, but most of them were to like the kind of finishing holes, 16 and 18, really just trying to bring the water more into play. I don't see this course playing that much more differently, really, or different at all, as opposed to maybe just some more threats here and there, which is a good thing for us data-wise because we're going to know who to be on this week for the most part. So course history, I still think is going to be relevant this week. So let's actually go ahead and jump into the players that have the best course history. So this is definitely a course where if you are not on your game, you could end up struggling. We have seen that. So Jordan Spieth, up until like last year, had tremendous course history here over the past 4 years. 7th, 2nd, 10th, and then last year missed the cut. We see that with Justin Rose, 12th, 82nd, 20th, 3rd. So for the most part, course history does tend to carry over here, but it is a difficult track. So do not be surprised if someone that doesn't have their A game does struggle this week. That is something that I think we could be expecting. Tony Finau kind of right in there. So course history does matter, as we always know. Golfers that have course experience tend to do better than golfers that don't. So we do want to be looking at that. Even like Grillo here, like mixed results, right? Winner, also kind of a good result, bad result mixed in there. So a little bit hit or miss in terms of course history, but it is going to be important to look at. But there's no I don't want to say there isn't like a course horse. Colin Morikawa's played well here, but I wouldn't look at it in terms of like course horses, just which golfers do have good course history, relatively speaking. And Lucas Glover is going to be a name that pops up a bunch this week. And just real quickly, a shout out to Lucas Glover for making the cut. I put out a tweet on Monday when he was on Thursday when he was +3 through 3 holes. It's like, never trust Lucas Glover when he looks like a good play. Ended up making the cut, which was awesome. And I'm still pretty shocked at the ownership difference between Denny McCarthy and Cash compared to Lucas Glover. Lucas Glover was like 4%. Denny McCarthy was like almost 40, or he was 40%. Like, I don't know. That was just strange. Glover was the better play on paper last week, slightly. I mean, I get why people would be on Denny McCarthy, but the point I'm making is like McCarthy shouldn't have been that chalk. And I mean, Glover probably shouldn't have been that low owned either, but like just the fact that it was that drastic of a difference, that was kind of weird. Looking at the golfers that are going to be the best recent form heading into this week, though, Scotty Scheffler, obviously number one. Colin Morikawa has been playing really well. And another name, just given his pricing and like outright wise, I think we're going to be on as well, Thomas Dietrich, because we look over his past 5 starts, has had 3 top 10 finishes. That is going to be highly encouraging this week. That is going to be something that I do think we want to chase. Max Homa kind of been very hit or miss. Like that's kind of the tough part about this week is like Max Homa's been hit or miss. Jordan Spieth hasn't been playing well. Tony Finau's been hit or miss. How is Colin Morikawa going to respond after being in contention and really not making a putt? I think that's going to be huge for Colin Morikawa. The fact that he didn't play poorly. He just wasn't making putts. Like, I feel like you can live with that mentally. It's kind of maybe part of the reason as to why I liked Xander this past week is because like, it's not like Morikawa choked this last week. It's not like Morikawa or it's not like Xander choked 2 weeks ago. It's more you just didn't have it going that week. And so could be good vibes from Morikawa this week, but did think that was noteworthy. And then you got Mark Hubbard, right? Mark Hubbard, top 5 recent form. That's a lot due to him making 14 straight cuts in a row, but also been about a top 25 machine. Really no bad finishes in there. An excellent finish last week at a tournament that shouldn't be good for him, a tournament that's longer. Now you get him on a track that should be good for him. That's appealing to me. Kevin Tway's popping up in there, which is surprising to me. Probably more of a small sample size there, but 9th, 11th, 3rd, appealing. Actually, even after the missed cuts popping up, and that's going to be part of the tough part about this week as well, is that we have to deal with Akshay, Siwoo Kim, potentially some of those guys that hurt us last week. Seb Straka, not good last week. So what do we do with golfers that just struggled last week? That might have just, it was a major. They struggled there. Are they going to bounce back this week? That's what we've got to ask ourselves. And again, Lucas Glover popping up in there. So interesting there. Let's go ahead and get into the golfers that are going to be the best stat fits. And so this is a course where I don't want to say it's a second shot golf course because I don't think that's like a perfect example of it, but it is a course in which you do need to be finding the fairways. Good drive percentage tends to be huge. Now you could look at total driving instead. You could look at that, but because I'm already looking at ball striking, ball striking goes into total driving, we don't need to kind of double dip this week. I'm going to use the 9 to 5 effective scoring stat, which is a bunch of stats combined together basically to predict both safety and upside. That's what we're looking at there. But effective birdie to bogey ratio, that's looking at birdie to bogey ratio, but also bogey avoidance. Because this track is a harder scoring track, I am going to be looking at that. 2 other stats I'm looking at this week: wedge scoring. So 125 and in. We're looking at both measuring approach is what that's looking at, but also scoring from that distance is what we're looking at. When I say wedge scoring, that's what I'm talking about. And then just par 4 scoring. It is a par 70 track, so we're going to be looking at golfers that perform the best on par 70 courses. And Kevin Yu is a guy that continues to pop up. I don't know what to make of that. It wouldn't be surprising to see him pop up. He has had spike weeks. Like, he is someone that could go off and wouldn't be shocking. Siwoo Kim is a good stat fit. Aaron Rai, Keith Mitchell. Keegan Bradley's going to be an interesting name. Tony Finau and Scotty Scheffler. Now, what are some names that weren't popping up in the top end there? A lot of the high-end golfers like Jordan, like Max Homa, because they haven't always had their A game each and every week. It's kind of figuring out their game each and every week in a different way. And then looking at the specialist data, I do think that this is something that could be important this week as well. Kind of just a different track, We don't typically get par 70 courses that are harder scoring courses on Texas tracks that are bent greens. The greens are going to be slightly different now. I believe that they put, I think it was some sort of not heating, maybe they put some sort of temperature control into some of the greens, I believe. I believe that's right. Anyways, don't be surprised if the greens, are a little bit different this week in terms of how golfers typically perform on them on this course. But that's part of the nuances of this week. But the best specialists this week, and I don't think we need to go too crazy with any specific stat this week, but the best specialists this week: Scotty, Collin Morikawa, Max Homa, Lucas Glover popping up in there, Harris English. So a lot of people are in Harris English this week, I've already noticed, and Thomas Dietrich. These two kind of reasons are probably why, because they produce pretty good results on tracks like this. But Lucas Glover, as you guys will see, is going to be a golfer that it's going to be tough not to get on this week. Again, yeah, it was a little bit of a sweat last week, but he came through for us. He's going to be someone that we're going to be looking at again this week. So let's go ahead and jump into the top picks this week. So the difficult part about this week for me is not getting Scotty into our builds. I think we are just getting Scotty into our builds. I don't think we need to worry about him. Yes, course history is a little bit spotty, I guess, but 2 runner-ups, we're kind of okay with that, kind of overlooking his prior results because he wasn't Scotty Scheffler in those starts here, 3 and 4 years ago. Don't really care about that. And he still ranks out top 21 in course history, even with 2 kind of bad results in there. So we're fine with that. We see green across the board, right? I don't think I need to spend that much time on Scotty, Texas-based golfer, great vibes from him and everything, right? Actually, I don't know what the vibes are. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Scotty mentally. I think he's going to be fine. Not shocking that he had a bad Saturday, just given the events of Friday. You kind of come down off of that high. Your body comes down off of that high and just not having your caddy there. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I think he's going to be good to go, though, this week. And if you think about it in the sense for Scotty, that was his first week of playing in a tournament, without his newborn child. Maybe, he's more settled into more of a schedule and routine, with that 1 more week of that could be big for him. But the tough part is after Scotty, what to do there, because Collin Morikawa is priced as he should be. And then after that, you get Jordan Spieth, who has played extremely well on this track. Texas-based courses does extremely well. Max Homa has been extremely hit or miss thus far this season. It actually seemed like he was going to be in for a good PGA championship, but man, over his past 7 starts, 3 top 10 finishes, and then a bunch of just kind of random results. And for him, it's kind of just, does he have his A game that week or not? That kind of comes down to it. But it's nice to see that he has been mostly reliable as well. Still making cuts, still like that. And we have seen that upside finish from him at this track. It wouldn't be surprising to see Max Homa win this week. He is kind of the golfer that does fit the mold, which is what the specialist data shows us as well. Top 20 stat fit, though, hasn't exactly had his A game most of the season. He's someone we could easily get to. Tony Finau, going to be a spectacular stat fit. And he has kind of mentioned that he has actually kind of tried to tone down his driving distance this year. And that has worked stat fit wise. I mean, good drive percentage, really up there. Not making them many bogeys, scoring on par 4s, ball striking's there. The stat fits are all there for him. Had a very good round in round 1. it just kind of fell off during the weekend. Still a top 20 finish, and now he's had a few good starts in a row. And really over the past, so it wouldn't be surprising to see him have a spike week. But that's the thing with these guys, like Max Homa, like Tony Finau, like Jordan Spieth. We are trying to chase a spike week out of them. What do I mean by spike week? I think it kind of makes sense. Like you're catching a golfer on a result that's been a little bit out of the norm. Now, Kyle Morikawa, he could easily give us a Xander Schauffele type of week, I think, in the sense that the final round on Sunday, I don't feel like, I mean, Morikawa didn't choke. He just wasn't making putts. And he never really had too many, like he didn't really choke at all. Let's just put it that way. He gave himself opportunities to make putts, just wasn't falling for him. They were close putts. A lot of them weren't bad putts either. They just didn't fall. They weren't there. He didn't have his A game on the green, which is okay. And so the fact that he has had tremendous course history here, 4 straight make cuts with a runner or finish, has been playing extremely well, not making many mistakes. He has been trending in the right direction. I don't know if I would mind the idea of going Scotty and Morikawa in a build. Now you're going to be thin later on, but you could make it work. And I'll touch on that in a second here. After that, Siwoo Kim kind of next tier down, go Scotty, those 4, and then Siwoo. I'm fine with him. I do expect him to bounce back after that miscut last week. But again, like that's kind of the trouble with this week is we got a player that really ranks out really well. Maybe not the best course history with Drew 1 year, top 30 finish, but really strong stat fit, had been in tremendous form prior to last week. Not the best course for him last week. You would expect him to make the cut and still give a top 30 finish. So not great that happened, but wouldn't be surprising to see him bounce back. Brian Harman can produce good results at this track, but really the play that I do like the most in the high tier here, staying with the 9K and above plays, is going to be Harris English. Harris English finished 15th at this event last year. He has been someone that has been trending in the right direction form-wise. Really just had one bad start mixed in there. Good finish last week. Basically, all of them have been around top 25-ish finishes, which this week, given this field, I'll take. Going to be a top 5 specialist, solid form, good stat fit, not going to be a golfer that makes many mistakes. I do think he's a kind of if you're going more of a fair and balanced approach, he is someone that you should be going out of your way to target, should be safe. 4 straight make cuts in a row now. Made the cut at this tournament last year, finishing 15th. Really just a strong play at a good price tag. But I do think we're going to go a lot of Scotty. And so he's kind of the player that I haven't been able to get to a lot this week. And so from there, let's go ahead and get into more safe plays here that I like, especially at their price tags. And I'm skipping over some golfers here, but I want to get into Thomas Dietrich. And I don't know if I would say he's exactly safe, but I do really like the price tag of him. And minus stat fit wise, he's someone that really does look like a strong play on paper. And stat fit wise, it's nothing like egregiously bad, basically middle of the field as a whole. But it does look like we're catching him at a very good time. I mean, recent form wise does rank out really well in the field. And that's going to be because of a 4th place finish last week. We see an 8th place finish mixed in there, 2nd place, 17th. No miscuts during that span. So he's been playing really well. 7th best specialist in the field. Made the cut this tournament last year with a 23rd place finish. And so at 8K, that to me is what makes him safe. And he's not, that safe, I guess not the correct word, because he's still not a great stat at 40th in the field. I mean, that's not great. But given the price tag, it's like the risk is worth it at that point. Is he maybe someone you want to play in cash? I could see not playing him in cash. I had a big issue with a lot of people having Benny Ann in cash. 50% of people were on Benny Ann in cash, which was a head scratcher to me. This isn't as much of that case. Like I don't see Dietrich as a GPP only play like I saw Benny Ann, but he is someone that he wouldn't be my first option in cash. And I do worry that he might be treated that way. Going to be someone I'm going out of my way to target though in GPPs because the upside's undeniable. And then when we talk about safe plays, I think Keegan Bradley on a shorter track, it's tough not to think of Keegan Bradley, right? So course history wise, 32nd, has only played this tournament once over the past 4 years. Key stat wise though, guys, 15th best in effective scoring. Again, that's that 9-5 stat that measures safety and upside. So 15th in the field there, 7th best ball striker, 11th in good drive percentage, and 3rd in effective birdie to bogey ratio, which is bogey avoidance and birdie to bogey ratio as a combined stat. Good in par 4 scoring as well. Solid form, has shown upside. This is a great track for him. And so at that price, I'm perfectly happy to get to him. But from there, like to me, guys, Mark Hubbard almost feels like a core play. And to me, I would argue he is a core play. Just given how good of a play on paper he is, he's going to be very difficult for me to pass up on. Now, like compared to Scotty, like where everything's green, we are seeing a lot of red, a lot of yellow, some green, which we don't love. Okay. But with Mark Hubbard, he has been on a massive make cut streak. I think it's like 14 in a row now. And like last week, he shouldn't have had any business being in the top 10 of that tournament. Like his game typically doesn't fit that. And so the fact that we had a top 30 finish out of him, that's awesome. We have seen a 3rd place finish out of him. Most of his starts have been around a top 30 finish, which if he does that this week at this price tag, we're happy with that. Now, one thing to call it, resident of Texas. Texas is a huge state. I'm not sure how close he is to this tournament. I didn't look into that. 9th place finish at this tournament last year, and 4 straight made cuts. Course history's there. Recent form's there. Could be a better stat fit, but still 26th in the field. Like, that's not bad. He is casually checking all the boxes. Top 30 in course history. Top 30 in recent form, like top 30 stat fit, 3 straight made cuts at this tournament, 3 straight made cuts on the PGA Tour, and he's a top 30 specialist. He is coming in checking all the boxes. And for the build process, he is the first one that I'm going to put into a build. And so again, that's kind of my issue this week. Last week when I did this video for you guys, I already had Xander in there. I did Cam Smith, which if I would have taken a risk with Bryson instead, who was a little bit cheaper, like $100 cheaper, would have been a much better week for a lot of my main builds, but not complaining. Doubling up is awesome. But yeah, the first player in my build, Mark Hubbard at 7.7, right? That's the week that we have. So we continue on, and I would guess you guys could already figure out which golfer. It's going to be Lucas Glover. So as you guys know, the model ranking is going to be looking at both safety and upside. That is what that is essentially measuring. So if you're just looking at maybe who are the best plays, fantasy score is the better maybe data point, but it's hard to argue that he doesn't have safety and upside. So, over his past 20 results, he has 2 wins on the PGA Tour, which is still there. That's still a good data point to reference, I think. Course history has been phenomenal. 40th, 8th, and 23rd place finishes for him, so has had a top 10 finish here. Key stat-wise, really excellent across the board. Again, he's not someone that's typically making mistakes. Good drive percentage. I'm surprised it's not as good as it is. Like 20th in the field, like we'll still take that. That's not bad. But I think the important thing to know is no bad stat points for him. Like he is a good stat fit across the board. 4th best specialist. Recent form, whether short-term or long form, checks out for him as well. So it's not like he's just, we're catching him in a spike week as well, or spike stretch. Really one bad-ish result, but still showing upside. Again, probably shouldn't have made the cut last week given the fit. And he did. I mean, I shouldn't say he shouldn't have made the cut. He finished exactly kind of how you would think he would finish, around top 40. Let's put it that way, which is awesome. Like, that's encouraging. And so now we get him on a better track. I love that. So he's going to be someone I think we're looking at. And so, again, the second player in my build now is Lucas Glover at a very cheap price tag. And this is where I'm like, all right, we can easily fit Scotty into our builds. So let's go ahead and do that. And so right now we're still left at 7.1 or so left over. There's going to be some good plays that we can fit in there. And so I know someone on another video is like, can you call it the best values, on each video? And I feel like I do that, just in maybe I don't call it out as much. I will say Andrew Putnam's going to be a player that I think, given his pricing, I am going to end up on a lot. Just he's been super safe and super reliable. Minus 1 team event where he missed the cut. If you take that off of this, he'd be top 20 recent form at least. This is a track that's going to set up better for his game as well. You look at that effective birdie to bogey ratio, not making many mistakes there. Typically pretty accurate. I wish he was a little bit better in good drive percentage and ball striking. The biggest concern is the effective scoring stat. 89th in the field. Don't exactly love that, but 14th best specialist. He is someone that does give me confidence that he's going to make the cut, and so at that price tag, he's definitely someone I could see playing. Kevin Yu, good stat fit, GPP only play. But we start to look at some of these value plays here down here. So Justin Lauer has been someone that we have played a little bit here. There missed a cut on the number in his last event, which is unfortunate, but still missed a cut on the number. And he had been playing great golf. It wouldn't be surprising to see him get that back. 6.4 for a guy that ranks out top 50 in the 9 to 5 mile, for a guy that should be able to make the cut. I do like that a lot. And now, do we need to play him? Is the question, because we might not have to, because we got Andrew Novak, who has made 6 straight cuts now on the PGA Tour. Going to be a relatively good stat fit, relatively good in recent form. Again, at 6.3, we're not asking for much. We're basically just asking for a made cut. And given the form that he's been in, I think we're going to get that. He has shown some upside as well, so maybe we get lucky in that regard. So he is someone that I do want to be playing. But also we have Chan Kim here, who's been playing pretty darn well as well. He missed the cut at the AT&T Byron Nelson. Had a bad second round, 72. Still shot under par. So I can kind of overlook that. It's still an under par round, and he still played pretty well. I mean, anytime you're shooting 4 under, that's pretty good. So I can kind of overlook that, when he's been more on his game. 6th place finish, 14th place finish. We have seen him do well, and we have seen him make 2 straight cuts now in Texas. And so, those two at their price tags, first look build wise, I have been ending up on them, and they're just a little bit too cheap. So with that, let's actually get into the first look build, and then I'll show you guys what the data's telling us is going to be a good build. And so this is what I mean about it is still pretty easy to fit Scotty Scheffler into our builds, because you could go Chan Kim and Andrew Novak. I don't even know if you need to do that, because if you don't do that, you have 7.6 left over, which to me is going to be enough. I do like Andrew Putnam. I think he's going to make the cut, but you still have Austin Eckroth there, who, man, if he would have given us that 18th place finish at the PGA Championship, at the Wells Fargo Championship, adjusting for the field, so maybe a top 15 place finish, adjusting for the amount of golfers in the field, like that percent finish, it would have been a much better week. But still, like, he's someone at a price tag that he's been playing good golf. We could get to Taylor Moore at a cheap price tag. He's been playing well. Daniel Berger, former winner at this tournament. He's someone that we could play. Aaron Rye is a play that the data really likes. And this is going to be the issue this week, is that I think we're going to end up on what I always call a shoulder shrug play, where to close out your build, like, you're kind of okay with it. And that's kind of my issue here, is that we have a bunch of shoulder shrug plays that I'm like, I'm okay finishing my builds with. I just don't know if we need to go out of our way to rostering these guys. And so this is kind of my first look build. I know this is not going to help you guys. Maybe you could go down from Andrew Putnam to, let's say, Kevin Yu, GPP wise. Like, I'm kind of okay with that. Brennan Todd should be able to make the cut. It is crazy though. Like, the original lineup that I gave you guys with Chan Kim and Andrew Novak, $100 off. And I would have felt pretty good about that build. So that's kind of been my issues thus far, lineup process wise. Let's go ahead and show you guys the lineup builder. All right, so to do the lineup builder, we do need to put in 2 data points, and I'm actually going to raise Scottie Scheffler's projection up just enough to the point where I'm trying to tell the data I do want him into a decent amount of my builds. I'm just telling you guys that as an FY, or else he wouldn't show up in these builds because he didn't have the best value rating. It does go off of the best fantasy score possible that it can make for lineups, so maybe it would have been in some, but I think given his pricing, he wouldn't, and maybe he won't even at 125, but I just wanted to let you guys know that. And then I'm already going to get a lot of more covered, but let's just raise that up and let's just see, without putting anything else into the data, what it spits out to us. And so without putting any maxes, it is getting us a lot of Lucas Glover, a lot of Marcus Hubbard, a lot of Harris English, Adam Schenk, and Chris Kirk. I don't exactly like them that much. Like, the data is going to tell us to be on them, so I probably will be on them, but and like Aaron Rye, I am not going to be on them that much. Probably 20% for me this week. That's my early thoughts. That could change. That's what happened with Shane Lowry last week, where beginning of the week I did not like him as much as the data was, and then I'm like, all right, I kind of get it. Maybe that happens with those 2 or 3, but I'm not there yet. So this is what the data views as the best lineup, right? Which isn't bad. And just out of curiosity, let's do what I normally do. So 3 unique plays and then 30% max exposure. Let's just see kind of what it spits out to us as the player pool then, because it still didn't give us Scotty, even by bumping his projection up that much, which is, it's still not doing it. So like, what we'd have to do here, we can lock in Scotty. We're going to lock him then into 30% of our builds just to see. I want to see what it spits out to us. And so the first build with Scotty would be Scotty, Rye, Hubbard, Glover, Novak. So the data likes Novak with Scotty Scheffler builds. Good to know. And then Schenk. Again, I don't know if I like Schenk that much, but interesting. Then you got Lauer there as well. So I think that's pretty good stuff. But that's going to be all for this video. Do just want to give a quick thank you to you guys. Was able to get to 1,000 subscribers last week. That was awesome to see. Very short time span as well. Really do love the support for the channel. That did not go unnoticed. I do appreciate that. So thank you very much. But that's going to be all for this video. Oh, one more quick thing here. So I'm going to be jumping on, I'll show you, I'll pop this up here real quick. I will be jumping on Joe's Preferred Lines podcast today, Monday evening. So this video is going to go up probably an hour before that live stream takes place. If you guys are watching this and you want to watch that, check it out. If you guys are going to, watch this a little bit later after I get done posting this and after that's live, go back and rewatch that. Just show support while I'm on, on the video, but also, give him a like and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. He works very hard. So definitely check that out as well. But that's going to be all for today's video. If you guys want access to any of the fantasy golf tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 95sports.com. They are available for just $10 a month. That's going to be all this week. Let's keep up the hot streak. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.